Listen to me carefully for the next minute, because if you have ever been told your blood sugar is creeping up or that you are sitting in the pre-diabetes range, there is something almost no one explains in the 15-minute window of a doctor's visit. Cutting sugar and exercising more is not wrong advice. It is just not the whole story. And that is why so many people over 60 cut out bread, cut out fruit, cut out everything sweet for months on end, and watch their HbA1c barely move. They feel cheated. I understand why. The real reason your numbers stay stubborn is not on your plate. It is hiding deeper, inside your cells, in something called insulin resistance and the quiet chronic inflammation that drives it. And until you address that root, you can starve yourself of sugar and still see your pancreas wear down, your belly thicken, your energy crash every afternoon. Today I am going to walk you through 3 ordinary spices sitting in most kitchen cabinets right now that real published research from journals like Diabetes Care and the Journal of Medicinal Food has tied directly to insulin and blood sugar. We will count them down from 3 to 1, and I will tell you now, spice number 1 is the one most people already own but use completely wrong, getting almost zero benefit. Stay with me to the end. Before we go further, tell me something. What was your most recent HbA1c or your fasting glucose number? Type it in the comments so I know where you are on this journey. And if my voice feels helpful to you, subscribe. Like keeping the number of a doctor you trust. Now, before we touch a single spice, there is one thing you need to understand clearly, because if you skip it, you will never know why your blood sugar keeps swinging the way it does. Every time you eat, your body breaks the food down into glucose, which is just a fancy word for sugar. That glucose enters your bloodstream, and your pancreas releases a hormone called insulin. I want you to picture insulin as a key. Each one of your cells has a lock on the outside of it. Insulin's job is to take that key, travel through your blood, find the lock on each cell, and unlock the door so glucose can move out of the blood and into the cell, where it is used as energy. That is how a healthy system works. The traffic flows, the blood sugar stays steady, you feel even. Now here is what happens, slowly, quietly, especially after your 50s and 60s. Those locks on your cells start to rust. Insulin shows up with the key, slides it in, and the door does not open the way it used to. Your pancreas, doing exactly what it is supposed to do, says, "All right, I will just send more keys." So it pumps out 2, 3, sometimes 4 times the normal amount of insulin to force those rusty locks open. And for a while, the trick works. Your blood sugar reading on the test still looks reasonable. But underneath, your insulin level is sky high and your pancreas is running like an engine in overdrive day after day. That engine cannot run that hard forever. Eventually, it begins to wear out. Insulin production starts to drop. And now you have 2 problems instead of 1. The locks are still rusty and there are fewer keys. That is the moment your fasting glucose creeps up. That is the moment the word prediabetes shows up on your paperwork. What no one tells you is that this rusting process triggers a chain reaction. Your liver starts holding on to more fat, your waistline thickens, you feel tired after meals, you crave bread and sugar more, not less. Cutting sugar lowers the demand on a broken system. It does not fix the rust. So what is rusting those locks in the first place? The answer is something most people have heard the word for, but very few truly understand. Inflammation. And I do not mean the kind you feel when you cut your finger and it turns red and swells up. That is acute inflammation, and it is healthy. It heals you. The kind I am talking about is different. It is quiet. You cannot point to a place on your body and say, "There it is." It happens at the level of your cells, every hour of every day, for years. When your cells are sitting in that low-grade inflammatory soup, the insulin receptors on the outside of them, those locks, get even more sluggish. Insulin resistance gets worse. Your pancreas pumps out more insulin. Fat tissue, especially around your belly, starts releasing its own inflammatory signals into the bloodstream, and now you have a closed loop, feeding itself, tightening month by month. This is the part that breaks people. Take Rachel, 68 years old. She walked into my office one afternoon holding a small spiral notebook. 4 months of meals, every single one written down by hand. No soda, no white bread, no sweet fruit. Her HbA1c had gone from 6.4 to 6.3 in those 4 months. She looked at me and said, "Doctor, I have been eating like a rabbit. The numbers will not move. What more am I supposed to do?" Rachel was not failing. Rachel was doing exactly what she had been told, but she was only working on the food on her plate. The inflammation inside her cells, the rust on her locks, was untouched. So what do we do about that? The answer has been sitting in spice jars for centuries, and the science is finally catching up. Counting down from 3 to 1, let's begin with spice number 3. When most people think of ginger, they think of an upset stomach. A cup of ginger tea when you feel nauseous. A slice of ginger when your digestion is off. That is the smallest thing ginger does. Ginger. The far more interesting work is happening somewhere you would never expect, inside your muscles. Here is something almost no one tells you. Your skeletal muscles, the muscles in your legs, your arms, your back, are one of the largest consumers of glucose in your entire body. When they are active, when you move, they pull glucose straight out of the bloodstream. This is why a short walk after dinner can lower your blood sugar in a way that feels almost too simple to be real. Your leg muscles are vacuuming up that post-meal sugar before it has a chance to spike. So what does ginger have to do with this? 2 compounds inside ginger root, called gingerols and shogaols, have been shown in research to make muscle cells more receptive to glucose. Think of it this way. Even on a day when you are not exercising, ginger helps your muscles act a little hungrier for sugar, pulling more of it out of your blood without you having to do anything extra. This is not just folk wisdom. A clinical study published in the International Journal of Food Sciences and Nutrition followed people with type 2 diabetes who supplemented with ginger for 12 weeks. The results showed a meaningful drop in fasting blood glucose and improvements in their HbA1c. The change was not enormous, but it was consistent. And it came from something that costs under $3 at any grocery store. The second thing ginger does is fight inflammation. It blocks the same inflammatory messengers that are keeping your insulin receptors sluggish. So while it is helping your muscles soak up sugar from one side, it is loosening the rust on your cellular locks from the other. Now, how to actually use this? The simplest way, and the one I recommend to my patients, is warm ginger water in the morning on an empty stomach. Take a teaspoon of freshly grated ginger root, or a thick slice, drop it into a cup of hot water, and let it steep for about 8 to 10 minutes while you wash up. Drink it before you eat anything else. Your body is in a fasted state, and it absorbs those active compounds best. A warning though. Do not confuse this with ginger ale, ginger candy, or those sweetened ginger drinks in plastic bottles. Most of those are loaded with sugar and contain almost no real ginger. They will spike your blood sugar instead of lowering it. 1 cup every morning. That is the discipline. Now, while ginger is doing its work in your muscles, spice number 2 reaches into something much deeper, the very switch that turns chronic inflammation on or off inside you. Before we go any further, I need you to separate 2 words in your mind. Turmeric is the bright yellow spice. Curcumin is the active compound inside it. When researchers study turmeric for blood sugar and inflammation, what they are really studying is curcumin. It is a polyphenol, a natural plant compound, and it works on several layers at once. The first thing it does is the most important. Inside your body, there is a signaling molecule called NFKB. I want you to picture NFKB as a light switch on the wall of every one of your cells, and that switch controls your inflammatory response. In a healthy person, the switch flicks on when needed, then flicks back off. In someone with insulin resistance, that switch has been stuck in the on position for years. The light has been burning night and day. Curcumin is one of the few natural compounds that can actually push that switch back toward off. The second thing curcumin does is protect the beta cells inside your pancreas. Those are the cells that produce your insulin. In prediabetes, they are being pushed harder every year, and they begin to wear down under oxidative stress. Curcumin shields them. This is not treating a symptom. This is protecting the very factory that keeps your blood sugar in balance. The third effect is on your fat tissue. The fat around your belly is not just passive storage. In someone with insulin resistance, those fat cells start releasing their own inflammatory signals into your blood. Curcumin quiets them down, breaking yet another link in the chain. Research published through the National Institutes of Health has shown that curcumin can meaningfully improve insulin sensitivity in people who are insulin resistant. The science is solid, but here is where almost everyone makes a mistake that throws all of it away. Curcumin on its own is absorbed terribly. Your gut processes it, and most of it passes right through you before it ever reaches your bloodstream. A classic study by Shoba and colleagues published back in 1998 found that a small amount of black pepper increased curcumin absorption by close to 2,000%. Read that again slowly, not 200%, almost 2,000. The compound inside black pepper, called piperine, opens the door for curcumin to actually enter your blood. I had a patient, Frank, 71 years old. He had this odd morning ritual. Every day for 8 months, he stirred a spoonful of turmeric powder into a glass of hot water and downed it like medicine. One day he sat across from me and said, "Doctor, I have been drinking this stuff every single morning. My numbers will not budge. I am starting to wonder if the whole world is lying about turmeric." Frank had done 90% of the work right. He was missing the 10% that decides everything. We switched him to half a teaspoon of turmeric with a pinch of black pepper and a touch of olive oil, taken with a meal. 3 months later, his HbA1c had clearly dropped. The practical version is straightforward: half a teaspoon of turmeric, a pinch of black pepper, and a little healthy fat. Olive oil, coconut oil, a few nuts. Stir it into soup, scrambled eggs, rice, curry, or make golden milk in the evening. Warm milk, half a teaspoon of turmeric, a pinch of black pepper, a touch of cinnamon. If you choose a supplement, only buy one that lists piperine on the label. Before we move to number 1, the spice with the heaviest research behind it, I want you to do something. Go look at the cinnamon bottle in your kitchen right now. Read the label. Tell me in the comments, does it say cassia or Ceylon? Your answer matters more than you think, because what comes next will explain why. I already know what some of you are thinking. Cinnamon? Really? I have heard that one for years, and it has never done a thing for me. I hear that all the time. And by the end of this section, you are going to understand exactly why it did not work for you, and what to change. Cinnamon does 4 things inside your body that no other common spice does at the same time. The first is remarkable. A compound inside cinnamon called MHCP can activate insulin receptors directly. In other words, cinnamon does not just help insulin do its job, it picks up a key of its own and starts unlocking those rusty cell doors itself. Think about what that means for a pancreas that has been overworked for 10 years. The second thing it does is slow down how quickly your body digests carbohydrates. Cinnamon blocks certain enzymes in your gut that break starch into glucose. So instead of sugar flooding into your blood after a meal in a sharp spike, it trickles in more gently. Your blood sugar curve becomes a soft hill instead of a cliff. The third effect is on the insulin receptors themselves. Cinnamon helps oil those rusty locks we have been talking about since the beginning, making them more responsive to the insulin that is already in your system. And the fourth, predictably by now, is anti-inflammatory action. Another link in the chain, cut. The research is the real reason this is at number 1. A review published in the Journal of Medicinal Food has shown that regular cinnamon supplementation can lower fasting blood glucose in the range of 10 to 29%. That is not a small window. That is clinically meaningful for anyone sitting in the pre-diabetes zone. And then there is the landmark study by Kahn and colleagues, published in Diabetes Care in 2003. People with type 2 diabetes took cinnamon daily for 40 days. Their fasting glucose improved, but so did their cholesterol and triglycerides, meaning cinnamon was reaching beyond blood sugar and brushing against the cardiovascular risks that travel with insulin resistance. Now here's the part that almost no one is told. There are two main kinds of cinnamon on grocery store shelves, and they are not interchangeable. The common one, the cheap one in most spice racks, is called cassia. It is what is in your apple pie. It is what was in your morning oatmeal yesterday. The problem with cassia is that it contains a compound called coumarin at significant levels. Occasional use is fine, but daily use every single day for months as a health practice can be hard on your liver over time. The other kind is Ceylon cinnamon, sometimes labeled true cinnamon, mostly from Sri Lanka. Ceylon contains coumarin at much lower levels, safe for daily use. The European Food Safety Authority has set guidelines around coumarin intake precisely because of this. The active compounds that help your blood sugar are present in Ceylon. The risk to your liver is not. When you go to buy it, read the label. It must say Ceylon cinnamon or true cinnamon. It will cost a little more than the cassia next to it. If you are going to take this every day, the difference is worth every cent. The amount you need is small. Half a teaspoon to 1 teaspoon of Ceylon cinnamon per day. Sprinkle it on oatmeal. Stir it into coffee or tea. Mix it into yogurt. Dust it over fruit. Blend it into a smoothie. Any of these works. The only thing that does not work is doing it for 3 days and stopping. Most people who say cinnamon did nothing for them were either using cassia at tiny doses, doing it inconsistently, or skipping the other pillars of support around it. So now you have all three. Ginger for the muscles, turmeric for the inflammation switch, Ceylon cinnamon for the insulin receptors themselves. The real question is how to bring them together inside a single ordinary day so they work with each other instead of overlapping. That is the part almost no video bothers to explain clearly. Here is what your day can look like. And I promise you, it costs almost nothing and takes less than 5 minutes of actual effort. In the morning, the moment you get out of bed, before you eat anything, make a cup of warm ginger water. Either grate fresh ginger the night before and let it steep, or grate a teaspoon into hot water while you brush your teeth and wash your face. Let it sit for 8 to 10 minutes. Drink it warm on an empty stomach. That is ginger handled for the day. At your first meal, whatever it is, oatmeal, yogurt, eggs, coffee, a smoothie, that is where your Ceylon cinnamon goes. Half a teaspoon to 1 teaspoon, sprinkled or stirred in. Find the place it fits naturally in what you already eat and put it there every single morning. Then at lunch, dinner, or in the evening, the turmeric. Half a teaspoon, a pinch of black pepper with a meal that has some healthy fat, a drizzle of olive oil, a few nuts, a piece of avocado. Stir it into soup, scramble it into eggs, add it to rice or curry, or, if you prefer something calming before bed, golden milk works beautifully. Warm milk, a half teaspoon of turmeric, a pinch of black pepper, a touch of cinnamon. 3 small habits. No supplements, no special equipment, no expensive program. I think of Carolyn, 64 years old. Her HbA1c was not even alarming when she came to see me. It was 6.1. But her mother had died from diabetic complications, and Carolyn said to me one afternoon, "Doctor, I do not want my grandchildren to look at me the way I had to look at my mother." She started this protocol and kept a small journal beside her bed. After 12 weeks, not 4, 12, her HbA1c was down to 5.7. Her afternoon energy crashes were gone. The change was not magic. It was 84 consecutive days of 3 small things. I will offer you that same challenge. 30 days. Track how you feel. If you have a home glucose meter, check your fasting number once a week. Same morning, same conditions. You will have your own data from your own body. But I want to be honest with you. If you only do these 3 spices and ignore the 4 pillars I'm about to walk you through, you will cut your results in half. Here is what they are. The first pillar is sleep. Studies have shown that even a single night of poor sleep measurably lowers your insulin sensitivity the very next day. One night. Now stretch that out across months and years of restless, broken sleep, and you have a quiet, constant trigger for inflammation that no spice in the world can fully outpace. 7 to 9 hours of real deep sleep is not a luxury at our age. It is a metabolic intervention. The second pillar is walking after meals. 10 to 15 minutes. Not a workout, not a sprint. A gentle walk around the block after dinner when your blood sugar would otherwise be rising. Your leg muscles, the ones we talked about earlier, start pulling glucose out of your blood almost immediately. This single habit can flatten your post-meal spike more than most medications people are afraid to start. The third pillar is hydration. When you are even mildly dehydrated, and many people over 60 are without realizing it, your blood becomes more concentrated. The glucose in it sits at a higher relative level. Your kidneys strain harder. Plain water through the day, herbal teas if you like. Sweet drinks, even something innocent sounding like ginger ale, undo the work we are doing. The fourth pillar is stress. When you live with chronic stress, your body keeps a hormone called cortisol elevated, and cortisol raises blood sugar. It was designed for short emergencies, not for modern life. Whatever calms your nervous system, meditation, prayer, time in a garden, time with the people you love, a creative hobby, counts as medicine here. It is not soft. It is biochemistry. I want to be honest with you. I am not telling you these 3 spices will replace your medication. I am not calling them miracles. I am telling you they are well-studied, natural tools that most patients are never told about in the short window of a doctor's visit. Filling that gap is the reason I made this video. Now let me bring everything together for you. Prediabetes is not, at its core, a sugar problem. It is an insulin resistance problem driven by quiet chronic inflammation at the level of your cells. That is why cutting sugar alone, no matter how strictly, will only take you part of the way. You can lower the demand on a broken system, but you cannot repair the system without touching the root. The 3 spices we walked through today, ginger, turmeric paired with black pepper, and Ceylon cinnamon, each press on that root from a different angle. And prediabetes, especially when caught early, is reversible in the majority of cases. So here is what to do, starting tomorrow morning. First, when you get out of bed, before anything else, make a warm cup of ginger water and drink it on an empty stomach. Second, at breakfast, add half a teaspoon to 1 full teaspoon of Ceylon cinnamon. Go look at your cinnamon bottle tonight. If it says cassia, plan to replace it. Third, somewhere in your day, work in half a teaspoon of turmeric with a pinch of black pepper and a little healthy fat. At your next appointment, ask your doctor a simple question, gently. Would you be willing to measure my fasting insulin alongside my fasting glucose so we know how hard my pancreas is actually working? And keep a small journal for 30 days. Your energy, your cravings, your sleep, and if you have a meter at home, your fasting numbers once a week. Of the 3 spices I shared with you today, which one are you adding starting tomorrow? And what surprised you the most, the cassia versus Ceylon difference or the black pepper mistake with turmeric? Tell me in the comments. And if you have a loved one who still believes that cutting sugar alone will fix everything, please send this video to them. It might be the missing piece they have been searching for. I am Dr. Claire Whitmore, and I want to see you healthy, active, and enjoying these years of your life. Everything I share with you is meant to teach, never to replace the care of the doctor who knows your numbers personally. Please, please, do not stop or change any diabetes medication without talking to them first. Take this video, or just the names of the 3 spices, to your next appointment and have the conversation together. Take care of yourself because you are worth every bit of that care. If you have not subscribed yet, walk this path with me. I will be here. I will see you in the next video.